Jim Jackson played for a decade and a half in the NBA. He was a two-time All-American. Knows a lot about a lot of different cultures and systems because he played with a lot of different people, a first-rounder out of Ohio State. So we were talking about Jokic. He reminds me a little, and I remember Bill Walton because I was a young kid.
Yeah.
He's got a little Bill Walton as a passer. He's got a lot of Arvydas Sabonis, who I covered for years. Now, I got the old Arvydas, but they're similar because, first of all, screen setters, great hands, great vision, could handle the ball. Again, I got the old Arvydas. But I got to tell you something. AD's as good a defender at 6'11" in the league. Jokic did whatever he wanted.
But he's going to do that anyway. The narrative that because AD was such a good defender and that he would be able to kind of shut down Jokic is not true, because in space and the way the game is, it's hard, it's very difficult to stop anybody one-on-one. It really is, especially when you have a dynamic player like Jokic who can do a lot of things. He's not regulated just to the post. He can get to the mid-post. He can get to the free throw line. He can shoot the three ball. He's depth in pick and rolls. So you're not going to stop a Jokic. I don't care how good of a defender you are. Now, can you slow him down? Can you make him less efficient? That's the key. Can you make him turn the ball over every now and then? That's the key. But are you going to stop him from getting 25 points? No. He's too good of a player. And I think we take it for granted a lot of times because maybe he's a European player that Jokic, for some reason, can be stopped and you don't appreciate what he does as a player. I appreciate it because I play with Arvydas Sabonis. Older, very similar in regards to what they do, the mindset of how they play the game. Quiet, the leadership aspect of what they do is more so what I do on the court. I don't really point and do all of this, but I lead by example, and that's why he's so effective on the court. And that's why Michael Malone can run his offense a lot through Jokic, which makes him even more of a challenge to stop.
I will say that, people talk about the Warriors, and there was a cycle, the life's cyclical, right? Like in the NFL for the last 8 years, nobody wants a running back. And then you're getting to a point now where people are like, well, running backs kind of matter, right? And in the NBA, it's like small ball, three, small ball. Lakers are huge and don't shoot the three. And I watch two of the teams in the Final Four don't shoot the three. And I kind of like it. Yeah. I kind of like I watched last night, I watched Denver and the Lakers. I'm like, these are men. Yeah. These are huge teams. And Bob Costas the other day was criticizing. He said, the league is too much a three ball. And part of me agrees. I miss the Jim Jackson mid-range, the Alex English. I like the mid-range. Yep. Are you sensing a little bit like the run game in the NFL? Size, rim protection, toughness, mid-range, get a bucket is a little more important. Maybe it was just the Splash Brothers where it always works.
I get a sense of it because even when, say, Milwaukee, when they won it, the mid-range is what kept them in the game, and they were able to extend it and win it. But you didn't talk about it as much, but it was such an ingredient that allowed them to win the games. Even with Golden State in some aspects, transition basketball to get easy layups. Yes, it was the three-point shots, but it was the easier baskets pointing the paint.
And defense.
And defense that beat you. See, Golden State, what happened with them this year, their margin of error was slimmer.
Right.
Meaning they were a high turnover team, even when they went and won championships. They didn't get to the free throw line as much as their opponents.
That's right.
But because they were so potent offensively, their bench was better in regards to more production. Defensively, they were better. They were able to overcome those turnovers or being at a deficit from the free throw line. But the way the game is trending is interesting is that, yes, it's physical, it's big, but it's not your conventional post-up player. It's still pick and pop, guys rolling to the basket. But I don't know if we'll get back to a Shaquille O'Neal 15, 20 times in the post. A little bit different.
Yeah, the back-to-the-basket guy is kind of – Jokic is so layered. And by the way, Anthony Davis, he'll turn, and he wants to turn on you.
Well, look at Embiid. Embiid should be a guy
back to the
basket. But because it's easier to double team that way, you cut down on spacing, you shrink the court in regards to being able to drive. Coaches in the analytics say we need the court open a little bit more. That's why you see an Embiid moving from the elbow to the mid-post. And I know a lot of purists get frustrated at it, okay, in regards to he should just be in the post. Well, In today's world, that's not it. Listen, in any sport, baseball, you want more home runs.
Right.
Why? Because it's more exciting.
Yeah.
In hockey, you want more goals. You want the game to be faster.
Yeah.
In football, you don't think Joe Montana, you don't think the quarterbacks back then wanted to throw the ball 40, 50 times?
Of course they did.
So their numbers would be different.
Yeah.
So to all of today's professional athletes in sports have grown to look at things a little bit differently than we did in the past.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it right or wrong. It just is what it is at this time.
So I look, let's say, and most people think the Celtics will beat the Heat, just the talent disparity. And let's say they do. They get to the finals and lose to a Denver Lakers. There's the argument that, okay, we know Tatum and Brown are very good. They're never great. So if they win a title, they'll both get their max money probably and move on, right? That's what'll happen. You won't break it up. But if they did lose to a Denver, because I don't think they're the perfect tandem, I think they're good. But I do think sometimes Brown's more aggressive, and at times Tatum kind of lets him and Marcus Smart. Jalen and Marcus are just more aggressive guys than Tatum. Tatum's more talented. So let's say they don't win, and many subscribe to the Celtics are the best team left. Right. But if they didn't win, would you sign Brown and Jalen to a max, or would you consider breaking it up?
Well, here's one thing. How do they lose is the question.
Okay, that's a good point.
Okay, because look at the Knicks. If you would have told Knicks fans that they get to the second round of the playoffs at the beginning of the year, they'll love it.
Upset Cleveland.
Upset Cleveland. But it's because they lost to a quote-unquote 8 seed Miami, and how they lost that people were disappointed.
That's right.
But yet and still they exceeded any kind of expectation they had for the year.
Yeah.
The thing with Boston is, listen, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. So now it's time for them to win it. Now, if they lose to a Lakers or Denver team and it's 4-1,
and Tatum shrinks and he can't get the ball.
Now it's a lot easier to do it. Right. Now, if they go to a 7-game series against a Denver who was the number 1 seed all the way through the playoffs, then that's a different scenario. Now, it always seems like, is it just me? It's Jaylen Brown's name. Oh, it's not Jason Tatum, not anybody else. It's Jaylen Brown. What is the organization going to do with him?
Yeah.
Is he happy?
They're going to keep Tatum.
They're going to keep Tatum. Tatum's not going anywhere. The question is, and I talked to, just being on the road, being able to talk to Jason Tatum and also Jaylen Brown and people in the organization, those two have forged a relationship a lot better than people think in regards to relying on each other. Listen, at a young age, the beauty, and I've been through it with Jamal and myself when I was in Dallas, and ours was short-lived, okay, because I got injured, he got injured. Yeah, everybody's trying to jockey for position and trying to prove themselves as a young player. They've been fortunate they've had early success. I didn't. They've had early success being able to get to Eastern Conference Finals and the championship game, stuff like that. The question comes down to organizational-wise, is Joe Mazzulla the right coach, even though they extended him? There's still a question about that. What moves are going to be made too? Al Horford is going to kind of leave a little bit.
Yeah.
Point guard.
Horford's
older. But I love Brogdon on what he can bring stability-wise. So the core is there. The question is, and Jaylen Brown has said all the right things, that's the key. Everybody else, I think, is stabilizing in place. To me, it's Jaylen Brown.
So I want to go to Victor Wembanyama. I'm hearing last night, I'm watching Woj is on the air, and Woj is like, his sources are saying, this is the best prospect ever. And that's a heavy class. There's the Shaq and Matt. There's a lot of
Kareem, LeBron. Come on. I mean,
now here's my thing. Years ago, when I used to say I worry about small quarterbacks, I got all this pushback. Now everybody's like Tua, Kyler Murray. It's like, and I'll say that I said this with Chet Holmgren. I look at the body. And people go, well, Embiid was thin, and Giannis is a weird body. It like never gets hurt, but until recently he had a back thing. But I look at Wembanyama, he's 7'3". People think he's still growing. Are we, because he's so offensively unique, are we going crazy here? Do you look at that body and think, you can push him around, he won't be able to defend smaller guys who are quicker? What do you see?
I see a very talented player who's played in a physical league in Europe.
Yeah, that helps.
Okay, that helps. The game is different where it's not as physical, where he doesn't have to pound up against guys. Depending on what organization and franchise and how the roster is built, he may not have to guard a Jokic and Embiid, things like that, because you can guard him with a smaller forward and double team. So
you could bring Kayvon Looney over.
Look at Hachimura last night. Okay, they moved him over to Jokic, and then they brought AD over to double team because you got a bigger double team. So now AD doesn't have to absorb the pounding. So it's ways to get around it. Listen, you always figure out ways to nitpick a player that comes in.
No question.
Always. Whether he's too thin, he can't shoot, he can't jump, not athletic.
Luck. They said he didn't have good enough arm.
Exactly. It's always because that protects yourself against something that happens if he doesn't succeed. Okay? Because it's always, he's a little, Kevin Durant is thin. He's been thin his whole life. Okay? Has that stopped him? No, it has not. And the way the league is, it's not going to, now, can he adjust to the 82-game schedule, the travel, language in regards to the way the NBA plays? That right there, his intelligence, I think, will help him with that. The physicality part, to me, depending on what organization he goes to, he'll be fine. He'll figure it out. Now, once you get over 7 foot, though, the tendency to have some injuries, especially lower extremities and stuff like that, is more apt.
Did you ever play with a tall, thinner player like that?
Not like that.
No, yeah.
No.
Remember the kid out of Utah, Bradley?
Oh, yeah. So I got traded for Bradley, for Sean Bradley.
And he never got thicker.
But he never got thicker. And he got injured. Now, I played with Yao Ming, who was thicker below.
Did he get hurt a lot early?
Feet.
Oh, feet.
He had foot problems. Because you got to think about the pounding and the weight over time.
Shaq had that.
Shaq had that too. Knees, that lower body. Now, these are bigger players now. But the tendency, once you're over 7 foot, listen, man, that's a lot of pounding that you put on your body at that size. And that's why you want to build up all parts of your body. I think they'll do that with Wembanyama.
Do you think the Warriors thing is over?
Here's the interesting part. So Draymond has his player option next year,
and he's got a great podcast.
Oh, he got a great podcast.
It's on the volume. It's very good company.
He's very unique in what he does. But the writing's on the wall from this perspective. Andrew Wiggins came up. You had Jordan Poole come up for their contracts, and they didn't extend Draymond Green. He has 1 year left, about $27 million and some change. He can opt out this year. I doubt that he does that because he probably can't go to the marketplace and get that money. Golden State has to deal with the fact that they're in salary cap, and they have to pay the repeater tax, meaning that the last 3 or 4 years they've been over the cap, so they had to pay the luxury tax. Do they want to continue to pay that? So it's 1 more year left. The option is on Draymond. I don't think he opts out, but I don't think after that the Golden State Warriors can afford to up him for another 3 or 4 years or extend him. And I think they may have to move on just because of everything that's happened. They can't pay him like that.
Hey, you did the Nick Heat series.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's got like 4 undrafted guys.
Yeah.
You watch them and you're like, it's Jimmy Butler. Bam's inconsistent scoring. So everybody's like, they have no chance to win this series. And I'm like, Spo's going to steal 2 games.
Yes.
Can you just tell me something? What is it? You're a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Most believe Spoelstra is the best coach now in the league. What does he do to make up talent gaps? When you watch him, what do you see he does?
Well, first of all, I have a different relationship because when I played in Miami, Spo was our film guy. He handled the video and film.
Lil Spo.
Lil Spo. That was Lil Spo. So his dynamic of being able to understand players and their mentality by breaking down film and watching Pat Riley and watching the adjustments and watching and listening to players over that. Think about it, where he came from. He had to hear all the good stuff and all the bad stuff from players. What players liked and what they didn't like, whether it was communication, in-game adjustments, whatever it may be. So by starting from that level, he has a plethora of knowledge that he uses now. His in-game adjustments, how he respects his team in regards to professionalism, like Pat Riley. See, one thing about Miami is this. They treat you like a pro. Now, it's changed a little bit more. You can't be as stringent as Pat Riley was, but there's an aura over that franchise. When you come in, this is how we get things done. And Spo has proven, going through all the stuff with LeBron, can he coach? Is it LeBron's team? Is LeBron going to get him out of there? He weathered all of that because he's a student of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him special, because not only his game planning, but his in-game adjustments, whether that's out of a timeout at halftime, is what really makes him a special coach and why longevity-wise he's been able to last through it. Now, he's had some challenges in his past in Miami, but the beauty about the Heat, they just don't let go of the string. They believe in you. So with that, Spo believes in his players. He has open conversations with them. Hence, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, he's got an they call it EQ. He's got an emotional intelligence.
Big time, Colin. Big time.
Yeah, he can deal with needy players, old players, kids. I mean, Tyler Hero was going sideways in the Miami nightlife. He reeled it back in. I mean, he and LeBron had battles.
Yep.
Icon stars.
But how you handle that in those situations, are you doing the things that put players in positions to be successful? Players may not like some of the answers they get, but are you being honest with them, and do you put them in a situation where if you do the things I ask you to do, now you have a chance to contribute? See, a lot of coaches can say, I need you to do A, B, C, and D. And you do them, and you still don't get a chance. So now players don't trust you. The trust you build up is because you're held accountable, but you hold your team accountable 1 through 15.
Yeah.
And when you do that,
it's hard.
It's very hard with superstars. But if you do that, if you hold 1 through 15 accountable, everybody else tends to fall in line. Now it makes your job easier as a coach to get on a Jimmy Butler, okay?
Yeah.
Now you can get on a Tyler Hero. Now you can get on a Gabe Vincent because everybody understands, he got on Jimmy too.
Yeah. Jim Jackson, that kind of emotional intelligence to reel you back in.
He's still hooping over there.
I mean, he's right out of junior college. He's loose.
I think Jason is still living that dream. I don't know what it is. He won a 10-day or something like that. I don't know what it is.
I would love a 10-day. Hey, we were talking earlier. Jamal Murray, how good has he been? And we think he's a better player than Reggie Miller is.
Stop it.
Colin?
Nah, but
100%.
But listen, but you can't compare. That's so different.
Because one guy's already in the Hall.
Well, no. One guy plays with the ball in his hand, the other one doesn't.
That's key.
Well, so what makes
the
him
modern
better?
players are more offensively minded, and one-on-one could take anyone.
But no, I'm not going to say more offensively minded. You don't think that George Gervin or David Thompson or
George Gervin
were offensively minded?
They
Rick
were.
Barry?
Not Reggie Miller, though.
But yes, he was. But he did it. Here's the thing. He did it in a different way because back then, if you shot 2 or 3 3-pointers, that was a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See, Larry Bird, if you shot 2 or 3, that was a lot of 3-pointers back then. So the mentality was so different in how you got your points. And that's why I say it's hard for you to take a step and put them back in the 70s or 80s.
Just that you don't know how to.
You can't.
Michael Jordan always said that.
You can't take his game because growing up back then, he would have learned how to play the game much differently.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have been shooting 40-foot 3-pointers.
I will say this. Larry Bird is one of those rare players that may have been better today than years ago. Like he was almost born too early. Larry
he was born
would
at
take
that.
6 threes, make 3. I mean, Larry is one of those guys that the culture back then hurt him a little.
It did too because Larry didn't take care of his body either back then.
Nobody did.
You think about if Larry grew up and had the same thing and can take care of his body longevity and career wise, because on the back end because of his back he was limited.
Yeah. Jim Jackson. Do I take a break? What do I do here? Oh, yeah, I got to go break. I like when I do these 20-minute interviews, lose where I'm at. Good stuff, Jim.
All right, you got it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.